Well, another Tacoma mod. This one's a bit unexpected, but really it's all because of this right here. I wasn't watching what I was doing and backed into my car right here kind of along the bumper. So got some damage right there. Car isn't looking that great either, got it in the door. But we've got some paint damage here on the bumper and not looking that great. So what I thought I would try was another odd, kind of unique item from Cali Raised LED, and that's these bumper covers. I'm not sure that they are actually making them, but you can buy them off their site and get them in a variety of finishes. So I've gotten the one here in textured black, really to try and meet or match up with what I have here with these rocker panel covers. So it should be a fairly easy thing to do. We'll see how these go on. I considered them before, but I thought probably wasn't a necessary item. However, after this, maybe it is something I do need. Now, if I wasn't covering this up, I would clean it up really well, which I've already done. So clean the bumpers because they're kind of dirty on the rest of my truck. Hasn't been washed in a while. And then I did a little bit of wax bug and tar remover here, and then clean things up with, of course, some alcohol after that. And if I wasn't going to be covering this up, as I said, I'd probably try and buff this out, see what I could do here and all that. But as it is, I'm going to cover it up, so I'm not going to worry about it. I've got a bit of a dent. I think it shouldn't be a problem. Otherwise, the instructions do say if you have some damage on your bumper, to take it off and kind of pound it out. But this is pretty small, so I'm hoping it'll cover up and not be noticed there. The bumpers do have some tape, some 3M automotive tape on the bottom, so I've made sure to kind of clean and degrease the bottom around here, which is where that tape's going to go. So I've done a little touch-up paint here, just because I was concerned about maybe some bare metal hanging out and didn't want any gunk or water getting underneath there and sitting in there, so it's always good to cover up the bare metal. So while this is drying and getting ready, I'll work on cleaning the other side of the bumper. Now, if it seems strange to clean something up and get it as good as you can, just to cover it up with something, remember that really I'm trying to protect the bumpers, and if you have all kinds of dirt or items or anything in here, anything hanging on, I don't want to cause further abrasion. There's already some paint damage here because the bumper faces downward, and I don't want to cause further paint damage and then more paint coming off and exposing metal and having rust problems, which especially could happen because water could get trapped in between the bumper surface and the bumper cover. So really, if I'm trying to protect the bumper, I want to get as clean as possible right here before covering it up. So that's always a good idea there, to prepare the surfaces. Now, to put the bumpers on, there are these two bolts here that are 10 millimeter, and it tells you to remove these. So these bolts here in the corner, I'm just going to get these out of here. And there are holes in the bumper cover that they will go into, and that'll help really secure it nicely down here. So if you remove these two bolts, there's another one right here. And so while there are holes in the bumper cover to accommodate these bolts right here, the instructions say if there's a slot, like instead of a round hole, but a longer slot, that you don't need to remove the bolt there. But I'm thinking that this one probably needs to come off anyway, so we'll see what happens there. I've removed the license plate and the frame around there. Then you undo a little screw to take out the lights for the license plate. Now these are aftermarket ones. I got these because I had a burned out bulb, and these are nice LED. Plus I have these little red LEDs that come on when the lights are on as well. But same thing, You're just going to take that out, unplug them to get to the hole. And the next thing is to remove this square cover here on this step pad. And so I'm going to just get a piece of car trim tool here and kind of try and pry this up. There we go. Pry that up. And ooh, what is under there? A lot of dirt. So this will be a nice time to clear out the dirt that you've probably accumulated. And then there's kind of a usual piece here that holds trim panels in. It has kind of like a pop-up piece in the middle, and you can take that out. So you want to get this step pad off and get this all cleared off here and nice and cleaned up when we have it off. So that's our next step. Okay, this pop-up button really did not want to come out. And a great tool for that is something like this, a trim panel tool, but you just can't get it under there because it's countersunk down below the step pad. So getting a big flat bladed screwdriver, kind of popping it up there is, I think, a good way to go until you can reach it and finally get it with the real tool. And then, look at that, pops right out. Let's try that on the next one. And lastly, there are two 10mm bolts right here. This is the underside of the step pad, and those would actually hold it to the truck there on the bumper on the bottom. So let's get those out of the way. How am I going to get to that? Over here. Looks like my adapter here is in the way for the trailer lights, so I may have to move this out. But two bolts, one on each side right there. Let's get those off. And that's it. These big old monstrosities here don't come off at all, they just stay there. And now we can pull this step off and see what wonderful treasures are awaiting you underneath. Lovely. Okay, I've cleaned that, looks a little better. I feel better about putting the plastic back over this part now. But I see a couple of spots here where, see, we've got some, the paint has been worn through from the plastic covering all the years. I was just put a little bit of touch-up paint. There's a spot there and a spot over there. So just some touch-up paint to cover up those. Again, trying to take care of any possible situations before rust gets in. Now, the instructions didn't mention this, but I did have to remove this larger bolt here. It's a 12mm. I did a quick little dry fit of the bumper covers, and yeah, that definitely has to come out. But it'll be another nice point to hold them on there when they're in place. And there they are, bumper Shellz, right, with a Z. And these have been hand assembled and quality checked by James Johnson himself. How about that? Well, let's hope he did a good job and that they fit the way they're supposed to. And there's one of them on. Pretty straightforward. Just kind of pop it into place. The instructions are pretty simple. It's a bit easier said than done, especially keeping all this part here underneath your existing steps right here, this top step cover. And then of course you can see that underneath those bolts are holding it in, and the bigger 12mm bolt. And then the tape, the automotive tape, is along the edge underneath here and along the bottom as well. I would recommend peeling off just like a little corner so that you can put this up with the tape still on, and then just put them in place, and then start peeling from the corner of that, we've taken off the cover of the tape, and just sort of then peel it back to expose it. Kind of like when you put vent visors on a window. That way it's kind of all in place and you're putting a tape on bit by bit. But there we go. Let's start putting some other pieces back on. And here's where the license plate light goes. I've noticed it's sort of been slipping down. If you push it up enough, you can expose the place where that screw goes in, and that should help holds it in place there. So let's just get this back where it needs to go. You probably have to kind of push up on this a bit while you pop this in place. Just going to try and wiggle it in there and get it to where it needs to be. And there it is. That's definitely a two-handed job. Again, this is an aftermarket piece. It doesn't quite fit in as well as the factory housing here. I had to carve off a little bit of plastic to get it to fit in. But anyway, with that screw in there, it's all nice and secure. Helps hold this part of the bumper cover. Bumper shells, I think they're called. So, yeah, we'll just kind of, now it's time to do the other half. And then kind of keep working my way around. Now here's my first big problem as I'm putting things back on. This step cover here, I just cannot get it back in where it needs to be. You can see these are kind of off center. I'm pushing and pushing, and it's just not happening there. Here where these plastic plugs have to go, and see they're not lined up. The only thing I could think of is the problem is, here's my bumper cover right here. So we have that. So if I take this off, what you'll see is it really sticks out a decent amount. And so I think with this on, it pushes out against. There's not enough room for this to go back where it needs to be. So the solution is, I think this needs to get trimmed a little bit off here to allow for this extra width sticking out right here. So one thing I can think is the problem, and I'm surprised they didn't figure out a solution for that. So I think I about got it to work here. I had to carve away and kind of sort of curve out this end right there to deal with the extra weight of the bumper shell there. And the same thing over here. I carve that out around that end in order to make it fit. But if you can press it in enough and press down these mounting clips, then that should hold it in place. And of course with the screws on the bottom we should be alright. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to have to do that, but I guess I did. Then once those are in, you can slide these little covers, pop them into place there. This kind of wider tab will go this way towards the outside, and then you can just pop it down, and there we go. Now I just need to put the bolts on underneath. So there's the bolt on right under there. And so here's the problem area. This is where I think it pushes out too much. You got to carve away right along here to be able to make this work. So I guess that looks okay. I mean, it's not the most beautiful job, but then I didn't have any idea exactly how much to carve away and how much, what the profile was. So I just did bit by bit until I could fit it in. So it'll be something like that. And I guess that's it. They're all on there. A little more trouble than I thought would be worth. There's a little gap right here. Now there are some little strips of tape that come in the package. They say to kind of cover up the bumper, to cover up the color or the chrome, and where the bumper shells might not cover. But for the life of me, really couldn't figure out where that would be. I guess I could put them right there. I'm not sure they're designed for that. But the thing that I like, at least for my application, is since I have these rocker panels on, it kind of continues the line there, the black around the edge. So anyway, looking pretty good. Does have a nice finish, black textured finish. I had a little problem over here. I don't know if I didn't quite get them on high enough, or if this end of the bumper is a bit out of whack, because this is where I bumped into my car. So part here isn't great. But anyway, other than that, kind of a nice look. Nice bit of protection there. So, there we go. Bumper Shellz from Cali raised LED. What do you think?